unmute us, and we're live, Mr. Mayor, at your convenience.
Okay, thank you. I will now call to order the Riverside City Council meeting for Thursday, July 20th, 2023 at 6:02 p.m. Mr. Manager, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Denning. Here. Mrs. Franklin. Mrs. Fry.
Here.
Mr. Joseph.
Here.
Ms. Lomatch. Mr. Maxfield.
Present.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Move to
Motion
excuse.
second.
We have a motion from Mr. Joseph and a second from Mr. Maxfield to excuse our absent members. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. Members are excused. Mr. Manager, any additions or subtractions to the agenda as presented?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a motion from Mr. Joseph and a second from Mr. Maxfield to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Would you please all join me in rise to pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would also like to incorporate into this portion of the agenda a moment of silence. There was a very unfortunate accident this morning at the US 35 Woodman Bridge construction site that very unfortunately resulted in a fatality in a crash. So if you would all please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Now on to much happier business. I've had the opportunity to be made aware of some very extraordinary things that have happened in our community, all thanks to one phenomenal person. And in the course of not just 2023, but the course of the last few years, as I've come to know more about the story of just all the things that Miss Ellie Fay has done, that it's been something that I thought this rises to the level of a proclamation from the city council and the mayor himself. So if I could please, pardon me, if I could please invite Miss Ellie Fay Turlington to come up to the podium. I'm going to read off this proclamation, Miss Ellie, and then you will have a chance to, it looks like you have some prepared remarks. And we'd love to hear that from you. So at this time, the city of Riverside, Ohio is issuing a proclamation honoring Ellie Fay Turlington as a hometown hero to our community. Whereas the city of Riverside is fortunate to have several residents, local volunteers, and members of our business community that work to improve the quality of life for our citizens. And whereas Ellie Fay Turlington has worked diligently to improve the community around her in Riverside, Ohio. And whereas Ellie Fay Turlington, with her mother Gina, spearheaded the construction of and promoted the success of the Little Library at Shellabarger Park in 2021, increasing literacy opportunities and adding to the aesthetics of our park and inspiring the spirit of volunteerism in our city. And whereas Ellie Fay Turlington sprung into action on May 29th, 2023, after a vehicle crashed into the park sign at Shellabarger and the raised flower bed, she saved several plantings of the flowers at the root to preserve the beautiful work of the Seville Hilltoppers Garden Club to the greatest extent possible following that accident. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Williams, Mayor of the City of Riverside, Ohio, and the City Council of the City of Riverside, Ohio, do hereby proudly recognize Ellie Fay Turlington as a hometown hero to our community in Riverside, Ohio, signed under my hand on this 20th day of July, 2023. Ellie, thank you so much for all that you do for us. And you have a few remarks you'd like to say to us?
Sure.
And please just try to talk right into this like I do.
So I saved the plants because I knew they had to be cared for because sticks were out of the soil and 3 survived. They're right there.
You actually brought them back to us. Wow, that is a citizen who cares.
And then the other 3 turned brown to a crisp, so we composted them.
Oh, well, that's good you composted them. There's still a good use for them. And can you talk a little bit about the Little Library? Why did you decide to do a Little Library?
I don't know.
Do you like the Little Library? It's right by your house.
Yeah.
It's a great addition to Shellabarger, I got to tell you. It's right on the walking trail and it's perfectly situated. So very grateful for all the work that you and your family do. So Ellie, I'm going to give you this proclamation, and I think we have a few people here that might want to take some pictures. Ellie, you can come over here. We're going to stand at back. Okay. Professional handshake. Thank you very much.
Parents, if you want to come up and get a picture too, you can as well if you'd like a picture. Yes.
You're not done yet, Ellie.
Come on, Ellie.
Read your proclamation.
You want to hold a flower?
And a photographer, she must love it. Thank you very much. You can leave those right there. That's perfect.
Thank you.
So Ellie, how old are you?
Oh, wait.
Ellie,
Ellie,
how
can you
old
come
are
back to the podium? We got a few more questions.
How old are you?
7.
7.
7.
So you know what that means? In 11 years, you can run for office and sit up in one of these seats.
Take Mayor Williams' job.
Right.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
So Ellie and her parents live directly next to Shellabarger, and their address is on the Greene County side, but they own the part of the property is on Riverside. So they're Riverside taxpayers, and they take very good care of their little corner of the park. So we're very, very thankful for the Turlingtons, and Ellie is doing her part as well. So thank you very much, Ellie.
Thank you.
Good. And you guys are free to stay for as much of the meeting as you'd like. It won't be as exciting as that was.
Thank you.
All right. And then we will move right into the next agenda item, which is boards and commission appointments. And we have 5 members of boards currently in our city that are here for reappointment. And it looks like we have many of them with us tonight also, if we have any questions. So, Mr. Manager, I will lean on you a bit. When we issue these letters of reappointment, it's basically done through a motion of the council here. If any of the members that are being reappointed are with us and would like to say a few words about their service, or maybe encourage others to take opportunities to serve as well, that would be great. I know we have Ms. Harry here tonight. We have a few other members of our boards here tonight. Do any of you wish to comment at all about the work you've done already with our boards, or the importance of civic volunteering, to put you guys on the spot? Come on up to the podium. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Honored to be here. I just want to let you know that our most recent project we've completed, and that is the message boards. I want to thank Kevin, Kathy, Joshua, our mayor, for allocating. I was begging for message boards because I make the different programs, and I've been stapling up for years, the posters on telephone poles and whatever. And so I was thrilled when they approved the message board. So then our next dilemma was how to get them up without costing the city a lot of money. So I put out a SOS to the head of the Miami Valley Boy Scouts, and lo and behold, we got a Boy Scout from Centerville High School who wanted to do all 3 parks. We already have Drennan done from another scout. And so I was out there with them taking photos and give them a little pizza party and this and that. And they got them up 2 weeks ago. I don't know if anybody's seen them. I put my posters in there now. It looks beautiful. And now we can have a professional presentation of our assets that we offer in any programs we come up So I just want to let everybody be aware that those 3 are up, and if you get a chance, check it out. I just actually, before I came here, I took a walk at Community, and one of my posters is the Triple Crown of Trails. And what I've done is I've calculated all the mileage for all 3 trails, pathways that we have, for all the way up to a marathon. So if people want to add it up and, hey, I want to do a marathon, I got one that's called the 401k, 401 miles. Every denomination, 5K, they can have fun with it. And just to let you know what's coming up, we got some things, two exciting things coming up. We have coming up. And I'm calling it the Any Day. I don't think anybody's ever done this. Any Day 5K Your Way. And I've got the poster made, and anyone who comes to the park or sees it online or whatever, they've never run a 5K. You know, that's a big thing if you're not a runner, but I'm making this easy, it's free. You don't have to be at the parks. You can do it anywhere. And you just record your 5K, we created an email for the parks, email it in that you did a 5K, and it just lists that you did it. But the fun thing is, we partnered with the t-shirt company, and if you want, you can get a t-shirt that says Mad River 5K. You do have to pay for it, but to actually participate is free. So that's a little fun thing coming up. And one last thing, I'm working on a citizen science junction. I don't think you guys ever done this. I've had like the Tree Trekkers program and different nature type programs that we've offered. And I'm going to combine them all into like a citizen science, not academy, but it takes some legal stuff, but like a junction or connection. And then schools and anybody who wants to participate. Like I recently got a citizen science certificate from Cornell University. I wanted it to be professional, but I'm establishing partnerships like with them. They have the Bird Academy and different things like that. So just offering something where residents can utilize our parks and do programs like, counting trees, birds, and different things that are basically national type citizen science projects. So that's just a quick little update. I love what I'm doing here, and everyone on the board commission with me. So just want to give you a little update on a couple of things.
Well, thank you, Ron. We certainly appreciate that. It's great to hear there's going to be bulletin boards at all of our parks. I know that the one at Drennan was finished up this past spring, the Eagle Scout project.
Yeah.
And that was a local Eagle Scout from a Riverside troop.
I did a magazine article for one that went in the 5 states. I did a daily news article. I think we did it in a newsletter. And for this news scout, we did 3 of them. I'm actually in the process of doing the same thing. We invited Dax to one of our meetings and we gave him plaque.
Oh, great.
And they brought like 5 people. And a lot of the scouts helped this Andrew did it just 2 weeks ago. And I believe there was people show up. So we have to thank him for the board. He didn't do this stuff. So they raised money for the country. We provided the sound, so they raised money. They brought out like 15 people to install the trees on one Saturday at 2 o'clock in the rain. So they will be rewarded with.
Wonderful to hear. Okay. Well, at this time, do we have a motion to issue letters of reappointment to our board members?
Second appointment for all the people on the list.
So we have a motion for Mr. Denning and a second for Mr. Maxfield to issue letters of reappointment to the listed members of boards and commissions for the city of Riverside. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We've all had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the June 8th meeting and the June 15th meeting. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as printed or as published for both council meetings. We have a motion from Mr. Denning and a second from Mr. Joseph. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. If there are any citizens who are with us tonight in the chambers and wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items, please fill out one of the forms in the back and bring it up to the city manager, who is also the council clerk for this evening. Pulling a little double duty,
Many hats.
many hats. And with that, we will go to the city manager and we will begin department updates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll first turn it over to the Finance Department, Mr. Garrett, and we'll provide a couple of quick updates, and I'll throw an updated income tax chart up here as well for the benefit of the viewing public. Take it away, Mr. Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Rouse. It was a pretty typical but successful month we've had. As finance reports year to date were included in your council packet. Just hope you had a chance to look at them. The noteworthy thing is income taxes coming along well. And this chart kind of shows where we are, but we're well ahead. That puts us about $1 million higher than where we kind of forecasted we would be. Having received about $5.3 million through June. And he kind of alluded to just this past Monday, we received another 700,000 distribution from CCA. So we're continuing ahead of the game, keeping our fingers crossed. We do expect a slight decline because, we just got through filing season and working off all of those returns. So it'll probably fall back a little bit, but hopefully stay up there. Also, I mentioned, I think last time that we were zeroing in on getting our financial statements prepared. Those did indeed get filed with the state auditors last week. And now the auditors are actually sharpening up their knives to come and see us real soon now.
Pencils.
Pencils, yeah.
I heard, we heard what he said. He's very clear.
That's right. I think Mr. Rouse also pointed out to you that we've got curb assessments for the curb work done on both Honeyleaf and Lynn Haven Meyer Eastman project coming to you next council meeting. So next, we pushed that off to the first part of August, but to get it down to the county by first week of September. And anyway, we prepared draft assessment ordinances for that and get that out to you. And finally, we just wanted to comment that our finance department did advertise for a position and got Michelle Elliott, stole away from their street department, but we're happy about that. She's getting acclimated to the finance department. Of course, we worked with her for the last year or so, she's already had some exposure. So she's learning a lot and helped us out a lot, and we're excited about that.
And just a couple of quick points to tack onto that too. I think while the income tax numbers are very encouraging, one of the questions that we have, just I think from a staff perspective too, is we've noticed the last couple of payments that we've gotten from CCA have been a little bit larger than typical, even under this new kind of rate environment. So we're going to do a little homework with them and mostly try to figure out, is this a function of, are they collecting more in delinquencies, or are corporations changing the frequency? Are they going to quarterly payments instead of monthly? So there's a little bit more to that story. I wouldn't want people to hear that we're way ahead and that we're off like a rocket to the moon necessarily. That's not quite where we're at. Kind of trying to figure out the story behind some of those numbers. And then again, continue to keep an eye on them for the rest of the year so that we are in a position for next year's budget to make an informed assumption about what's likely to happen to the best of our knowledge in revenue, and then set a revenue target from there. So encouraging, but again, cautious optimism is the name of the game. So
just a preliminary thought. Are you thinking that we're just going to ride the wave of our unencumbered fund balance that we're getting? We stay at the year with $1 million in surplus. Are we going to recast that at any point in this year?
yeah,
Or do you want to hold on to it and use that for next year's budget as
that's
a
a great
surplus?
question. Great question. I think that there's a two-part answer to that. So the first is that it's important to remember that that money comes in, when that money comes in, we split it up 60-40 by law into public safety, non-public safety. There's a particular fund that we use that holds that 60% for the public safety side. So we'll continue to do that as the revenues come in. With respect to, will we spend any of that additional revenue, assuming we have some at the end of the year? I think that's an open question. I mean, on some level, if there are, where my gut takes me is if there are capital items that it makes sense to begin to try to prioritize, we may look at, do we have enough resources to buy or enter like, squad cars or other apparatus kinds of things or facility enhancements that maybe fit in that envelope? The big hesitation is that because we are only 20 some odd months into this, just short of 2 years, we wouldn't want to necessarily budget a whole lot of ongoing operating against that revenue at this
Right.
point, because we want to just make sure that that's a consistent trend.
Right.
So we have the option to, is a
Right.
long-winded way of answering that question. And I imagine we'll have that conversation in the coming months.
Okay, and so are we at a good place with like, I know we talked about like fund balance policy with keeping a certain amount of reserve. So are we comfortable there with our fund balance to
Yes.
where if we have that excess capital, then you're thinking of making like capital expenditure purchases for like the 60% for PD, or if any like big like asset expenses come up that we are on our wish list. Last thing, I'll get off my high horse. Do we do anything with like assessing our assets? Like an assessment process of like understanding any capital expenditures or capital assets that we have and like what the conditions are of them?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a great question. The short answer is that is a practice that we anticipate developing in a more fruitful ways going forward.
Okay.
So part of what we bought in the financial system is an asset management module. The principal function of that is for depreciation purposes. We can use that to help do some asset management scoring, and try to figure some of that out.
Yeah.
And the contract that we have for fleet with Enterprise, they will manage a lot of that process on the fleet side. So again, very much in process, and we're working towards being able to do that in a more robust way.
And okay, one more. So with that like asset assessment process, you're having all your big ticket items, public works, fire trucks, big equipment, right? I mean, my brain goes back to last year when we had the backhoe that we needed to be replaced.
Mhm.
That kind of sprung on us. It required a budget adjustment and we didn't see it coming, right? Or I didn't at least. So if we have a process that we develop that we can list out and ask the department heads to say, assess all your assets, here's all of what's capitalized, give us an assessment rating on it. If it's getting towards that like needs replacement area, then do the research, attach that to it, what the replacement value is. So we can see it down the pipeline, like what is our capital expenditures going to be? And there's not so much of like that, oh, hey, this backhoe broke, it's $300,000. I need money.
Right.
And
What
we kind of,
what I'm hearing you say is you'd like to see a capital improvement plan, and we're working toward that as well. That'll be part of this year's budget process. So
thank you.
Yep.
You make me happy. All of you make me very.
they do
happy.
great work. They do great work. That's it. I'll go ahead and save the administration report for the manager's section, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Holt in community development.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Next Tuesday is our Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. It's been a minute since they've met. This will be the third meeting for them for the year. There's only be one case. So that's pretty exciting for them. They like having this little break. Another thing is we have submitted our mid-year report for the Source Water Protection Program, and that meeting will be on August 3rd for us to sit with the fund board and talk about what we've done to meet that agreement, and give them that update mid-year. Final thing is I thank our residents for their patience this week. Our code enforcement officer has been off, but our community development tech has been doing the best he can to fill in that role between his other duties and filling in. So I ask for your continued patience as he tries to respond to the complaints we receive. That's it.
Questions for Ms. Holt? All right. Thank you for the update, and we'll go back to the city manager.
And just four quick updates from my little corner. So the fire chief recruitment application deadline is tomorrow. I'm very pleased with the applicant pool so far. Mr. Horn seems like he's very comfortable as well with the quality of the applicants we've received. So that process continues full steam ahead. The Aurora Park structure demo, the one that had the fire earlier this year, is scheduled for demolition later this month. So I believe all the permits have been pulled. It's a matter of getting that scheduled with the contractor. So when that comes down, that will obviously, I think, reduce the attractiveness of that structure for nuisance activities. And that will allow us to start a process of engaging the neighborhood to figure out what comes next and how that gets plugged into a capital plan. So all that is in process. The Citizen Budget Committee met earlier this month and scheduled its next meeting for September 12th. And I'm optimistic that we'll be farther along on the ClearGov implementation of that. And so I intend to use that as a tool talking point with the Budget Committee this year and in years going forward. So very exciting, kind of think what we're building to as far as that committee goes. If anyone out there is interested in serving, feel free to email us and I'll make sure that you get looped into that. And finally, the community garage sale is coming up next weekend. I intend to have work with the clerk to publish an updated list of participating residences early next week. So we'll try to get that out Monday. That'll be posted online and we'll put it on social media as well. So people have an idea about how many folks are participating. And that's all I have.
And if folks are interested in participating, they should email or call the city office.
Correct. Yep. They can email citymanager@riversideoh.gov or call the office. And Becky up front's been helping Katie compile and then distribute that list of participants.
And permits are required to have a garage sale or a yard sale, but the permits are at no cost.
Ordinarily, yeah. I don't know. I think for the purposes of this event, we don't require one. But
Okay.
if you want to do one outside of this event, then yeah, you have to, there's a permit requirement there.
Okay,
So-
so for the weekend of the community yard sale, that it's,
Just call and let us know.
okay,
So
great.
Mhm.
Questions for the city manager? Hearing none, we will move right along. If there's anyone who wishes to comment publicly on any agenda items, did we have any slips turned in, Mr. Manager?
I have not received any.
Okay. Well, then we will move into old business, and the one item under old business is an ordinance which will have its second reading, public hearing, and potential adoption. And that is an ordinance to repeal and replace several chapters of our zoning code to, I believe, bring them all in line. We've talked about this before. Mr. Manager, anything else on the ordinance before we go through the procedure?
Nope, no changes. Just we recommend approval.
Move to approve.
What's your question? Yeah, they didn't have any.
Second.
All right. At this time, I will, we have a motion for Mr. Denning and a second for Mr. Maxfield. Mr. Manager, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 23-0-831, an ordinance to repeal and replace chapters 1331, 1341, and 1343 of the building code of the city of Riverside, Ohio.
I will now open the public hearing at 6:30 PM for anyone who wishes to comment on ordinance 23-0-831. If you wish to speak, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Hearing no one and seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing at 6:30 PM for ordinance 23-0-831. Are there any further discussions among members of council? Hearing none, Mr. Manager, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. Motion carries. We will now move into new business. We have 2 ordinances and 4 resolutions. The first ordinance is the first reading of our comprehensive land use plan update. Mr. Manager, anything else you want to add? I know we've covered this at the last work session and we've been working on this for a while.
No, only to say that we did receive a couple of comments from council that we will have incorporated into the final document. It's all very minor, non-substantive changes. So the substance of the report's not impacted. We're comfortable recommending approval at this point, and before it's finalized, we will have that updated version put onto the website.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, the city charter allows for the first reading of ordinance to be read by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Mr. Manager, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 23-0-832, an ordinance adopting the 2023 update of the comprehensive plan for the city of Riverside, Ohio, and repealing and replacing the 1996 and 2005 comprehensive land use plans.
All right, is there any further discussion from members of council? Hearing none, Mr. Manager, please call the roll.
And I apologize. The motion was Mr. Denning, and the second was
Mr. Maxfield.
Okay. So, Mr. Denning,
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield,
Yes.
Ms. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. And the second ordinance tonight, which will have its first reading, is amending chapter 1105 of our Development Procedures Code. And we discussed this at our last work session as well. Anything else to add, Mr. Manager?
No changes since last discussed.
Move to approve.
Second.
The city charter allows for a first reading of an ordinance to be done by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Mr. Manager, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 23-0-834, an ordinance amending chapter 1105 Development Procedures of the City of Riverside, Ohio Unified Development Ordinance.
Is there any further discussion among members of council? Hearing none, Mr. Manager, please call the roll.
Mr. Denning,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph,
Yes.
Ms. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Thank you. And we'll now move into the resolutions. First resolution, resolution 23-R-2856. Mr. Manager, why don't you tee this one up for us?
So I'm proud to present this resolution to council. This is a resolution which affirms promotion of Ms. Holt to the position of Community Development Director. In the 20-ish months that I have been here, Ms. Holt has demonstrated and continues to demonstrate some very robust skills and sound decision-making abilities. I appreciate very much the vitality, creativity, and the spirit that she brings to the office. And I know that she's up for this challenge, and I'd like to have her as part of my team.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of promoting the very deserving Nia Holt to the position of Community Development Manager, resolution 23-R-2856, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Thank you, Naya.
Thank you, Naya. And as a fellow planning nerd, Naya and I speak the same language. And at Planning Commission, I always try to like inch over closer to her and ask her about maybe some what might seem obscure vocabulary terms. But when you speak the same language as somebody, you understand it. So it's great. I always love the interactions I have with Naya. Incredibly professional, incredibly poised. And the city manager outlined it correctly. The work you've been able to produce for us in the 20 months you've been here has been it's been well above what I think you would expect from somebody in the role you're in. That's why you're now no longer in that role, and well deserved. So congratulations.
We appreciate it.
We'll move on to the less exciting, nothing against fences, but the less exciting resolutions. So the next resolution, 23-R-2857, Mr. Manager.
Housekeeping resolution for the next 3 years of guardrail maintenance with
So
security
moved.
fence.
Second.
We have a motion for Mr. Denning and a second for Mr. Maxfield. All those in favor of resolution 23-R-2857 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And it looks like the next resolution is also a housekeeping one, Mr. Manager, just for,
Paint
Paint
striping.
striping.
Yep.
okay.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Denning and a second from Mr. Maxfield for resolution 23-R-2858. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And the final one, Mr. Manager, could you tell us what this one?
The final one,
outlines?
this is the customary resolution that we have to adopt in order to accept the ODOT's final estimate before bidding the Spinning Road Phase 1 project. And so after this, it will go out for bid. It commits us to our local share amount, which is about $133,000.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Denning
Second.
and a second from Mr. Maxfield. All those in favor of resolution 23-R-2859 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And that wraps up our resolutions. If there's anyone who wanted to comment publicly on any non-agenda items, you could turn in your slip to the city manager at this time. And I believe that's the only one we have. So you could just join us at the podium. And if you could, please just give your name and address for the record. Thank you for joining us this evening, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name's John Ziegler. My address is 4238 Blue Rock Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak today. I watched the meeting on Monday, planning commission, and I didn't see all the facts on what was going to be built at where the farmhouse is. So I was kind of wondering if, I guess there's probably more final plans going on. We don't know about it, but it looked like the exact same plan they showed us at the meeting. So I was kind of wondering about that. And I was just worried about what they're looking at, the water resource areas there in the waterways, that it's like the head to the creeks that come through there. So I was making sure they're going to protect that. And I didn't know if they were going to reduce the number of apartments or, possibly, move stuff around to work the way the waterways that are underground. And a lot of people from the neighborhood have told me about a family cemetery in there. I don't know about that. I maybe someone else could tell me more about that, but I didn't know if that was going to be moved or looked into. And it would just be nice to see what the final plan is, if they're going to have more green spaces in there, or if it's just what they submitted. I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. I was in attendance on Monday, as was the city manager and the new community development director. The plan that was submitted is available to view. Is that accurate to say? The plan that was submitted is available either online or in the office, or I'm sure it could be emailed to you. If I'm remembering correctly, and I'd ask both of our staff members to refresh my memory, the number of units that they proposed on Monday was consistent with the number of units that they had originally planned for.
Correct.
They have a significant detention water space on the site plan. They have increased what I'd say wildlife buffer on one end of the property, which wasn't originally talked about maybe earlier in the year.
Yeah, so they have protected the wetlands that's at the rear of the property. A third of the landscape plan includes Ohio native plants. So that was not what was presented the preliminary plan. So that's something that we have more details on. There was a small reduction in green space because of that wetland buffer that they had to put in. So that's something that they had to consider. They are meeting the stormwater requirements that are in our code. So we did take a look at their plan in great detail.
And Ms. Holt, I would also add, would you concur that the plan met every standard that the city has for developments?
That's correct. So even our fire department looked at, the turnaround space for their apparatus, the streets, had to make sure the widths were right. Even the entrance, we looked at signage, all of that, the lighting. It's not going to have any light trespass onto other properties. We looked at all those elements.
So maybe they might be saving some of the old growth trees there or something. Is that what the natural landscaping is?
So they're going to include native plants that are consistent with Ohio vegetation. So I can't say that they're going to preserve the trees. That's not what they're not going to do that, unfortunately.
Nor could we
But-
compel that.
Yes, can't call that, but there is a wetland towards the rear of the property that will be protected.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And I know that the city staff is always available for questions.
Yeah, they're welcome to call me too. You're welcome to call me anytime, so we don't have to talk here. Thank you. I appreciate everything you guys do.
All right. And I believe that was the only member of the public who requested time to speak this evening.
I believe so.
All right. All right, and then we will move on in the agenda to council member comments. I'll start with Mr. Maxfield.
I have nothing.
I will move to Mr. Joseph.
I got, congratulations, Naya,
Wow.
and thank you all for your hard work. That's it.
I would obviously share in the congratulations for Naya. I didn't mean it as a bad thing to say planning nerd. Consider myself a planning nerd, because I know the amount of passion that Naya has for the profession. And as I said, when she received her AICP certification, it's such a high level to reach. And without betraying the age of a lady, I know Naya's not that old. So she's achieved that at a very young age, which is incredibly impressive. And that just makes me and this group that much more proud that you're on our team and that you're contributing to our goals here in the city. When we opened the meeting, we had a moment of silence for a very sad occurrence this morning, a very sad accidents on the highway. And I just wanted to take a moment to call out and thank our public safety folks who were on the scene. And I know when I spoke to the city manager this morning, he had already spoken to the interim fire chief and of course, Chief Robinson, and had as much information as he could possibly share with us. And the level of professionalism that we get out of our public safety folks is one that maybe we take for granted up here. I do at times because the level's so high. And I just wanted to take a moment to call out and thank them personally, especially Chief Robinson, who I do value immensely in the leadership he provides to our city. And then the fire, on the fire side, I think about the amount of things that those folks have to run into at any time of day or night. And it's something that I can say for myself, I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And it's because we have the ladies and gentlemen that we do on those staffs that we can ensure the well-being of our citizens. So thank you to our public safety folks and thank you to their leadership because that's where it comes from. And I will move on to Ms. Fry.
Nothing tonight.
Okay. And Mr. Denning.
Everybody, don't forget Nights Out on August 1st. I don't believe we have a meeting before that happens, so I wanted to mention that. It's at the Stebbins High School.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, 6 to 8, right?
Mhm.
And so lots of touch the truck and I know snow cones and usually burgers and dogs and just a good time for the community to come together. Also, this weekend, the JCs are trying to put together a farmer's market over at the haunted house. If you have extra things in your garden and you want to sell them at the farmer's market, we need more people to sell. We have lots of people that want to buy. We don't have a whole lot of vendors. So if you would like to sell your extra cucumbers or tomatoes or cabbage or whatever you may have, please come over and we're not charging anyone anything to set up, just set up. And it's like selling it off your porch, except everybody will be together and we'll have a bunch of people there, I hope.
All right. I know there's a lot of demand for that.
I know a lot of people has been asking for a farmer's market, so we're trying to put it together, but bear with us while we have our growing pains of trying to find vendors.
Wonderful. Okay, well, with that, I will see if there's a motion at 45
Motion.
and a second.
Second.
We have a motion for Mr. Maxfield and a second for Mr. Joseph to adjourn the meeting at 6:45 PM. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, folks.